Well, Razorback fans, it was a big weekend for Razorback football. A few more commits and also a little bit of scheduling talk and College World Series hell. Let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of the John Nabors Show, which you can catch every weekday afternoon starting at 6 on Natty State Sports and nattystatesports.com. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. So there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. As a lot of you can tell, I am in a different element and in a different spot and doing it a little bit differently now. As I'm in the Central Arkansas area, back in the 501, having a few things to take care of, a few business things to take care of. So I am going to be, I don't know, I'll just make it my mobile studios here or whatever. I'm surrounded by Catholic things and bobbleheads. But either way, it's going to be great, though, because there's still a lot of things to talk about, of course, in the weekend sports and in the weekend of Razorback sports especially. And, you know, again, we wait for SEC Media Days to start up, which is just amazing that it's a few weeks away. Then we start to really get down to the nitty-gritty and seeing what it's all about with this new SEC, the new era of SEC, with Oklahoma and Texas joining and SEC Media Days being in Dallas, which still don't know how I feel. I like it at least because for once it's close to Arkansas, and unlike what Hoover was or like the SEC championship in football in Atlanta. So it's a little bit easier to get to for people who live in Arkansas, but nobody really cares about us media members here in Arkansas anyways, or at least outside of Arkansas. So there was some news, though, that happened. And again, it's recruiting. And recruiting is always going to drive a little bit. But it looks like here recently, Sam Pittman and the coaching staff have really upped their game when it comes to the recruiting landscape. Like, they've been really getting after it with some high school players and getting some new commitments. And they had a couple of them over the weekend, and one of them being a local kid and the other one being more on the defensive line, which the defensive line has really been the one that's been getting after it and getting hot and heavy. So let's look at the first one, and that's Antonio Jordan. He is committed to the Razorbacks. He's 6'6", 230 pounds, okay? And he's a wide receiver. Now, I don't know about y'all, but last time I checked, if you're a wide receiver that is 6'6", 230 pounds, it usually means pretty good things. But how about this when I add this into the mix? He's from Warren. Man, if there were only some other players, some other wide receivers that were from Warren. I'm trying to think. I think there was a few of them. Maybe you remember them. Maybe a Jarius Wright. Maybe a Greg Childs. Maybe a guy named Traylon Burks. You know, the basically wide receiver manufacturing the city of Warren. I mean, that's just what they do. But they ended up getting him to commit. And if you go to 247sports.com, you see that he's of the 2025 class, and he's a 3-star. And when people see that, they're like, 3-star, big whoop. Okay, fine, whatever. But you got to look at the offer list. That's really what it always comes down to. That's why I always like mentioning the offer list more so than the actual star system, which I'm not saying the star system is irrelevant and it doesn't matter. But when you see cases of like pretty good schools, SEC schools, other SEC schools offering a player, it kind of gives you an indication of like, hey, it may just be a 3-star, but he's good enough to play in the SEC because that's why the other teams offered him. So the only teams that he was really interested in and the ones that are really going after him hot and heavy was Florida State, not bad, South Carolina, and Tennessee. So again, you can look at the 3-star. Ronnie Fouch was the guy who was really getting after him, of course, the new wide receivers coach. And he decided to make Arkansas his commitment in his place. He was the 14th verbal pledge. And here's what I'm talking about, where it was so crazy in how quickly all this moved and how all this recruiting has been going on. This is the 8th commitment of the month of June. This is according to 24/7 Sports. And when he was asked about his decision to play at Arkansas, he said, quote, home. So I said, home. I'm an Arkansas kid, always been. I love it here. So he's from Warren. He's 6'6". He's 230. He's a wide receiver. I think it's a little bit, say it's premature or whatever, but pretty sure that he's going to be an all-SEC wide receiver already. Like, that's the expectation, I think. Not to mention the fact that he also has a guy named Bobby Petrino coaching him once again, which we know how Bobby Petrino coaches wide receivers, and we know about what he did with those Warren players, too. So he was big on Ronnie Fouch, though. Really liked him and liked what he was doing in the recruiting process. And also Chris Gregg. I didn't want to forget him. I was mainly talking about wide receivers. But, yes, Chris Gregg is also from the tight end position there as well. But he was all about Arkansas, all about home, and he's feeling pretty good about it. So another nice little get. Again, 6'6", 230 for a high school kid, a guy that's still got to play his senior year of high school, still got to go through his senior year. Like, that's a dude. That is a massive dude. I can understand if he was 6'6", 195 pounds. He's 6'6", 230. But it's almost in a way unfair because then I know people are going to be like, oh, it's like Traylon Burks. Because I think Traylon Burks was at like 6'3", 6'4". And he was built like a absolute unit. Had all the speed and everything to go along with it. So hopefully those expectations get a little bit tempered. And remember, I was joking about that in the first part. But a nice little get for Arkansas at the wide receiver position. And the other player that Arkansas was able to get that ended up being one of the defensive linemen. Arkansas has been getting after with the defensive line commitments, which, again, is great. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that it's like, oh, well, they need to slow down. They have too many defensive linemen. That's not the case. You can never have too many defensive linemen, and that's what they got with Trent Sellers, who made his commitment out of Mobile, Alabama, the Faith Academy. So, I mean, if he goes to a school called the Faith Academy, he's going to be, faithful maybe. I don't know. But still, he's coming out of there, and he went public with his decision on Sunday after 7 p.m., and he's also now the 15th. So Arkansas has 15 players that have officially committed to Arkansas, part of the 2025 class. Now, if you look at him the same way, it's going to be the same type of thing. He's a 3-star player, right? Right. Well, according to 24/7 Sports, he's 6'5", 240. So you got the size at least. And he chose Arkansas over Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Nebraska. So again, it goes back to the whole point, folks. It goes back to the whole point that I was making about the offers. I know it sounds weird, and you may not like to hear it, but if players are good enough to get offers from Ole Miss and Mississippi State, they're good enough to play there, they're good enough to play at Arkansas. If they wanted them, then Arkansas should have wanted them too, but he decided to take his talents to Fayetteville. And what was interesting, though, is that even though he's a defensive lineman, Deke Adams, the defensive line coach, was not the main coach in that recruiting. It was actually Scott Fountain. He was officially offered by Scott Fountain, which I forgot that he is the assistant head coach. So, but that happened back in May, and he came back on a visit, and he decided that he's all about it. He says, quote, "It felt like a good fit for me, a family fit." And he put out on social media his graphic, which is pretty absurd. It looks like there's a lot of things happening here, but it looks like he's holding a boombox with that terrible forward-facing hog logo on it. He's got a little picture of Tusk, so I'm all for that. And then it looks like Big Red doing a handstand with one hand. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. He committed, and that's really all I care about too. So it looks like that he was also being committed, or he's also being recruited by Deke Adams, but he was originally offered by Scott Fountain. So I want to make sure that I get that cleared up. And they're continuing to build the defensive line there. So, yeah, recruiting's still going on. And I know I did a podcast about this. It may have happened actually here recently. I don't know. My days and weeks get all mixed up. But I will say that Arkansas going after it in the 2025 class and, trying to climb up to the rankings, through the rankings when it comes to the rest of the SEC or even nationally, because people are always wanting to be in the top 25. Like, let's be honest. You always want to be in the top-ranked recruiting class each and every time. It's easier said than done. It's tough to do at a place like Arkansas. And as of right now, at least according to 24/7 Sports, they're 32nd still. 32nd in the country. And people may see that and be like, oh, okay, well, again, recruiting, is it important? Yes. Is it necessary? Yes. Is it the way, do you have to have the great recruiting class each and every year to be able to be a successful program? It helps, but at a place like Arkansas, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's about that transfer portal, baby. It's about that transfer portal. Just hit that transfer portal nonstop. That's how you make a difference. That's how you get to be a better team, and that's how it all changes for you as it goes. But still, getting work done there in the high school ranks, and we'll see what Sam Pittman and the rest of his coaching staff continue to do, as it's been a very big month for the 2025 class. Folks, I want to tell you, though, that we are brought to you by FanDuel. Listen, I love sports, and I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports are not sportsing like we've always wanted them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the winning going with all the sports wherever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. It's FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. There has not been any scheduling news officially for John Calipari and the Razorback basketball team since last week. We know that they've been continuing to add games. They've been continuing to try to put things together, whether it's going up to Madison Square Garden or going to Dallas. They got the game against UCA already set. That's going to be played in North Little Rock at Simmons Bank Arena. So the scheduling is continuing to build. We do not know, and also I guess we do know the SEC teams that they're playing and where they're playing them, but we do not know the dates of them, the times of them, anything like that. Now, people keep asking, when is it going to be finalized? And they actually wait pretty close to when the season actually starts. I'm not saying like it's a week before the season starts, but I think it's usually like late July, maybe late August when the schedule ends up coming out. It's still got a ways to go. But still, like, I had somebody comment the other day, which I don't base segments most of the time off of comments, but it was a little bit fascinating because he was like, well, what scheduling, what does it matter? You just need to get to the tournament. And it's like, yeah, you do. And yeah, scheduling does matter. But it's also how far do you push it? Like, what do you do for it? Because I think coaches have different philosophies on how they schedule. All right? I keep going back to the way Muss scheduled. I guess it was Ruda that did a lot of it. But it was really interesting because it's not like Arkansas had these major non-conference matchups all the time. And I'm not referring to the ones like the SEC Big 12 Challenge that they were a part of or anything like that. I'm talking about actual games that Arkansas scheduled, neutral sites or whatever. Like Oklahoma was kind of the only one, and I don't even think Muss had anything to do with that. I think that was more of an Oklahoma and Arkansas thing in the BOK Center. And like that was about the extent of anything unique there. Because then the other events were like no doubters, like playing in Maui or playing in the Bahamas, like that. Those made sense. But the reason that they scheduled the way that they did, and I remember us talking about this specifically, was they did it in a way where I'm going to put it probably the less political correct way that they did and he did. But essentially what happened is that I looked at it as, okay, they were trying to do things like, for instance, trying to make it to where they were getting the right people in the picture. Like they were getting the right teams in the picture. Teams that weren't bad, but were good enough to where they could possibly be tournament teams. Now, they could possibly win their conference, and that would help their net ranking. That's how he handled it. Like finding that good enough balance to where you're a better team, you're more athletic, you're more talented, you should win as long as you play like a B+ game. But then also at the end of the season, it's going to get something that benefits you in the net ranking. Now, Cal, on the other hand, is completely different. Not to say that he doesn't have games that he looks at net rankings and everything, but as we know about Cal, Cal is big. He's big event guy. He's box office. Net ranking will take care of itself in his mind. His teams, what they do on the court, that'll take care of itself. But it's like, I don't think he's worried about, okay, so let's schedule this team because they're about to win the Summit League or whatever. No, it's like, oh, okay, so let's Madison Square Garden. You guys want a game? Okay, who wants to play? Anybody? Anybody wants to play some Madison Square Garden? Anybody? Anybody? Oh, you do? Okay, come on over. Michigan? Sure. Yeah. Come on, let's play. Or whether it's the game against Illinois and Kansas City. It's like, hey, we're going to be Kansas City, the T-Mobile Center. Hey, can we play there? Oh, yeah, okay. Hey, does anybody want to play us? Anybody? Oh, Illinois? Okay, yeah, come on over. Like, it's the big events. It's box office. It's unique things. It's going to be ways of people experiencing games that they haven't before, or at least not very often. And again, I know that Arkansas played in Kansas City, but that was for an event. This isn't for really necessarily an event. It's just it's a unique one-off. So it's about getting eyeballs because people are like, well, Calipari, Arkansas, playing an opponent with a name in a neutral site, and they're doing it on Thanksgiving? Yep, that game's going to be, we're going to have that on national television. And guess what? That does big for recruiting, does big for awareness, that does big for everything. So scheduling does matter, yes. The type of opponents you're able to play against matters, yes. But Cal is all about getting eyeballs on him. Like, he wants all the people to watch his team, his games. He wants to go to places that most people don't get to go to and play, like Madison Square Garden. And, he's very tactful in like how he does things and how he handles things. At least that's the vibe I've gotten so far. But, maybe I got Cal all wrong. Maybe he is. Maybe he's just flying by the seam of his pants. Maybe he's doing that too. But we'll talk a little baseball just for a second here in just a little bit, folks. But I got to tell you, passion, drive, and patience, that's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. At eBay Motors, they have everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. So with all the parts that you need at all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available for U.S. customers.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I put out this tweet the other day, and it got a lot of traction. Of course, got some people that were like hating on it, and that's fine because they're from other fan bases. But to talk a little bit about baseball, though, like it's kind of in a College World Series hell if you're a Razorback fan, for real. Today, I guess tonight, the Game 3 of the College World Series Finals will be played between Texas A&M and Tennessee. Those two teams that, aren't really baseball schools. Tennessee just realized they had a baseball program a couple years ago. And Texas A&M, they blow bubbles at their games. So, yeah, really big baseball programs. And one of them is going to win their very first College World Series ever. And they're going to be like what? One of, I guess since there's 16 teams in the SEC now, I feel like it's like 9, 10 SEC teams that have won a College World Series. I don't know if it's that many, but it's a lot. But they're going to be a new one. And it's kind of annoying if you're a Razorback fan to see that. I don't know why anybody would want to watch that. Some people do. I don't know why. But it sucks. If you're a Razorback fan, it sucks watching that. And seeing, I watched highlights of the game today. I guess it was game 2. And there were so many empty seats. And I'm not trying to compare anything, but I'm just like, jeez. Remember when Arkansas played Oregon State in the finals? It was like 80% Razorback fans. You could not find a seat in the house. Like, you just couldn't. And I'm like seeing that, and it's just so nauseating. So somebody's going to win it between the two, obviously. I talked about who I'd rather win and keep going back and forth. I think it's just one of those things that's just like, it just sucks. No matter what it is. No matter who it is, it's just going to suck. A&M, when they brought in Schlossnagel, who is definitely into himself and how he handles things. He was a bona fide success before he got to A&M. He was basically what they were hoping to get out of a Jimbo Fisher or even a Buzz Williams, where they were established successes at their previous spot. Oh, you just come over here and you can keep it going and do at least that. Well, Jimbo didn't, and Buzz really hasn't either. But Schloss has. I mean, he's gone to the College World Series. He's done his job, and they could end up winning it. And then Tennessee, Tony Vitello, say what you want about the guy. The dude is incredible at recruiting. He's incredible at getting high-level talent. He's incredible at developing that. He's incredible at having a team with confidence. And it's going to be awesome to see when he's Arkansas's next head coach. I mean, how awesome would it be once Tennessee wins it, if they win it, that Arkansas is going to be able to hire a national championship winning coach? Kind of like they just did in basketball with John Calipari. It's going to feel sweet. So enjoy it, Tennessee fans. I hope you can enjoy your College World Series title and everything. But it'll be fun once seeing him in his Arkansas uniform, calling the Hogs in a stadium like Baum Walker. That's like 2.5 as big as the stadium you guys are building. But either way, enjoy it, though. Enjoy it. I don't care who wins. I care about a meteor hitting or maybe just rain delays every day for the next 18 years. Whatever it takes. But, yeah, College World Series hell for Razorback fans. We're living it. We're living it. Appreciate all of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.